The first meeting of Agriculture and Fisheries Ministers of ALBA TCP was held in Venezuela with the objective of achieving food sovereignty through regional cooperation. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum highlighted a recent report by the World Bank which unveiled 11 million Mexicans were lifted out of poverty during the administration of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. And the United Nations warned that more than 2,700 children under the age of 5 in the Gaza Strip have been diagnosed with acute malnutrition. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Ministers of Agriculture and Fisheries of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, ALBA TCP, agreed Friday in Caracas, Venezuela, to adopt strategies to ensure the region's agri-food sovereignty with a solidarity approach. The bloc's Executive Secretary Jorge Arreaza emphasized that the meeting sought to strengthen the region's agri-food capabilities and vast marine and agriculture resources. The participants at the event also praised the so-called ALBA initiative, which proposes to strengthen the production of marine protein with the intention of benefiting all the bloc members through shared investment. In this context, the Secretary General of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, informed that the nominations for the mayoral and city council elections will be held from June 9th to 13th, 2025. During a press conference, Cabello added that from July 11th to 24th, the electoral campaign for the candidates of the party will begin. Furthermore, he urged all the structures of the Great Patriotic Pole to get organized for the beginning of the grassroots assemblies this coming Saturday, June 6th, for the nomination of candidates for the mayoral and municipal councils. In this sense, he affirmed that more than 47,000 communities at the national level will participate in the grassroots assemblies. For his part, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro condemned the United States' disinformation campaign against Venezuelan migration, emphasizing the efforts and commitment of his government with the safe return of migrants. During the swearing-in ceremony of the governor-elect of the Aragua state, Joana Sanchez, the president described as false the document issued by the Trump administration, which points to the alleged refusal of the Venezuelan state to receive its nationals in the U.S. In response, Maduro highlighted his government's commitment to save the safe and dignified return of migrants through the Back to the Homeland plan. In addition, the head of state condemned the campaign promoted by Washington against the Venezuelan migrant community, which he described as an attempt to justify the escalation of aggressions against them since Trump took office.
They have run 1,000 campaigns saying the Aragua trained this, the Aragua trained that. No, Aragua is the birthplace of the homeland. It is the cradle of a hard-working, honest, sincere, patriotic people who defeated the Aragua train. We defeated it here. President Donald Trump, from the Samanda Guerre, where the liberator was during the admirable campaign. President Donald Trump, from the Samanda Guerre, where our commander Chavez was 42 years, 5 months and 19 days ago, swearing allegiance to the homeland, swearing allegiance to the revolution. I send you a message. Do not let yourself be poisoned against Venezuela anymore. They poison you every day with lies.
In Venezuela, a new group of 192 nationals was welcomed at the Simon Bolivar International Airport in Maiquetía on a flight from Texas as part of the governmental return to the homeland plan. This new group of Venezuelan migrants, made up of 156 men, 26 women and 10 minors, was received with a multidisciplinary team to provide them with comprehensive medical attention. It is noteworthy to highlight that this governmental plan has facilitated the comeback of nearly 5,600 Venezuelans, supported by a humanitarian program. The Maduro administration has denounced several times family separation due to Trump's immigration policies, and in this flight they managed to reunite two brothers who had been split up from their families for 6 months. The government of Venezuela addressed on Friday the reaction of Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar in response to a legitimate complaint made by President Nicolás Maduro about criminal elements entering the country from Trinidadian territory. Through an official communique, the government assured that Venezuela has captured criminals of Trinidadian origin who have confessed to their plans, statements that have been duly substantiated with compelling evidence presented by the competent authorities. Furthermore, the Venezuelan government stated that the appropriate response to this serious situation is to offer cooperation and willingness to clarify the facts. The Prime Minister's virulent and bombastic attitude raises serious suspicions of complicity in this incursion and compromises the good cooperative relations that exist between our countries in fundamental areas. In its closing remarks, the communique urges the authorities of Trinidad and Tobago not to lend themselves to geopolitical games that are alien to the interest of our peoples, and reaffirms its commitment to peace, sovereignty and mutual respect, recalling that any legitimate concerns should be channeled through diplomatic channels, not through threats or unfounded statements that only fuel artificial tensions. Haitians expressed Thursday their rejection to the U.S. travel ban, which was even condemned by U.S. Congressman Mike Lawler. Local outlets said the prohibition deprived nationals of fulfilling their professional dreams in the United States, preventing them to help their families from abroad. They further recall Washington contributed to chaos by its military intervention and subsequent occupation. Meanwhile, the U.S. Congressman stressed Haitians needed support and not a ban, due to the fact that over 1,600 Haitians have been killed in just the first 3 months of 2025, in addition to 1 million nationals forced to be displaced. Overall, both Haitians and Lawler agreed that the travel ban would make worse Haitians' humanitarian situation.
For Donald Trump,
it would be better if U.S. President Donald Trump helped the country. These decisions are not good. Many people need help. The country can recover because Haitians are strong, and we have a great history. Trump will only stay for years. He will not stay forever.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, and stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Friday, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum highlighted a recent report by the World Bank which unveiled 11 million Mexicans were lifted out of poverty during the administration of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. During her regular morning press conference, Sheinbaum referred to a reassessment carried out by the World Bank, which had initially estimated the figure was 9.5 million citizens. In this regard, the head of state addressed how the institution reassessed their methodology and acknowledged that the actual number stands at 11 million Mexicans lifted out of poverty during President López Obrador's term from 2018 to 2022. In this context, text, Sheinbaum emphasized the country's economic indicators, stressing that on the current year, in the face of international economic difficulties, there is a very good perception of the domestic market. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel met on Thursday with the Secretary for Relations with the States and International Organizations of the Holy See, Paul Richard Gallagher, and sent his greetings to Pope Leo XIV. In his official X account, Foreign Affairs Minister Bruno Rodriguez pointed out that this meeting evidences the intention of both the states to continue strengthening their diplomatic relations. On the occasion of the 90th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between the Holy See and Cuba, Monsignor Paul Richard Gallagher offered a Mass in the Cathedral of Havana on Wednesday. During the ceremony, he assured that Cuba holds a special place in the heart of the Holy Father. Bolsonaro supported Congresswoman Carla Zambelli, accused by Brazil's Supreme Court of Justice of illegally entering false data in the National Council of Justice, was placed on Interpol's red list. Zambelli was sentenced by the Supreme Court to 10 years and 8 months in prison, but fled the country across the border with Argentina to the United States. In this regard, Minister Alexandra de Moraes of the Federal Supreme Court had ordered her preventive arrest for non-compliance with court orders. The G1 website reported that the Congresswoman is in Italy, where she arrived before her name was formally included in the international wanted list, but until the day before, the Congresswoman's own advisor said that she was in the United States. In Peru, the mega port of Shanghai, built with majority Chinese capital, formally began operations with the delivery of formal licenses in a ceremony led by President Dina Boluarte. The authorities reported in a communique that the delivery of the license took place in Shanghai, a town located some 80 kilometers north of Lima. Boluarte pointed out that the trade generated in this port terminal will contribute to 1.8 percentage points to the Peruvian GDP and will generate 7,000 direct and indirect jobs. Last March, Chinese sources pointed out that the direct maritime route between Shanghai and the Chinese city of Shanghai had mobilized 22,000 tons of cargo in its first 2 months of operation. Pakistan's children are losing weeks of education each year to school closures caused by extreme weather, prompting calls for a rethink of learning schedules. Searing heat and unusual cold snaps have caused closures that are meant to spare children the health risk of learning in classrooms that are often overcrowded and lack basic cooling, heating or ventilation systems. In May, a nationwide heat wave with temperatures up to 7 degrees Celsius above normal, hitting 45 degrees in Punjab and prompting several provinces to cut school hours or start summer holidays early. Pakistan's summers historically began in June when temperatures hit the high 40s, but in the last 5 years, May has been similarly hot according to the Meteorological Department. The 2025 Shanghai International Carbon Neutrality Expo opened, drawing over 500 enterprises from 15 countries and regions to participate. Themed Path to Carbon Neutrality, the exposition showcases the latest low-carbon technologies and products around the globe. With many of the exhibits already put into practice, the expo attracts global low-carbon practitioners to investigate the new developments in the green industry. A local power company vowed to take full advantage of Shanghai's offshore wind power and has planned long-term projects to promote green energy development in the city. This year's expo has established a special section targeting the country's policy of promoting large-scale equipment upgrades and consumer goods trade-ins.
Based on this, we can quickly assess the value of green technologies and connect them with financial and trading scenarios, promoting integration between the green financial system and industrial sectors.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The United Nations warned that more than 2,700 children under the age of 5 in the Gaza Strip have been diagnosed with acute malnutrition, raising the number of children suffering from these serious physical conditions since the last assessment in February. According to the United Nations Humanitarian Office, of the nearly 47,000 children who were examined in the second half of May, 5.8% were suffering from acute malnutrition. That is 3 times more than in the previous quarter. In this regard, the agency stated that despite the increase in the rate of malnutrition in children under 5 years of age, there are currently only 4 medical stabilization centers in the Gaza Strip. This situation is aggravated by the Israeli regime's continued obstruction of humanitarian access to the Palestinian territory. At least 9 people were killed in new Israeli attacks in the southern Gaza. The Zionist regime continues its genocidal campaign as Palestinian Muslims celebrate the holy day of Eid al-Adha. 4 civilians were killed and others were injured when an Israeli drone bombed a cell phone charging point among tents for displaced persons in western Khan Yunis. In addition, 4 other people were killed by an occupation army attack on 8 distribution centers west of Rafah. The genocidal campaign, launched by Israel in October 2023, has claimed the lives of at least 54,677 people, mostly children and women, while more than 125,000 have been wounded and thousands of corpses lie under the rubble of the devastated Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed to be delivering weapons to a Palestinian group opposing the Hamas resistance movement. The Prime Minister advanced to support the Abu Shabab clan, a Gazan militia opposing Hamas, to increase their leverage in the enclave. Netanyahu admitted that the incorporation of such armed group would safeguard the lives of dozens of soldiers of the Israeli occupation forces. In addition to having acknowledged the transfer of arms to this Palestinian militia, the Israeli regime confirmed its collaboration in mounting criminal raids and theft of humanitarian aid, which worsened the crisis of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. The U.S. government sanctioned 4 International Criminal Court judges for issuing an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Trump administration decided to ban the 4 judges from entering the United States. In addition, Washington determined to block any property or other interest they may have in the country. In this regard, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio noted the U.S. government would take whatever action it's deemed necessary to protect its sovereignty, that of Israel and any other ally. The court reportedly found reasonable grounds for criminal liability of Netanyahu and former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and genocidal aggressions towards Gaza since October 7, 2023. On Friday morning, more than 80,000 Palestinian Muslims gathered at Al-Aqsa Mosque to perform the Eid al-Adha, or Feast of Sacrifice prayers. The faithful arrived early in the morning at the complex despite the strong Israeli security presence at the gates of the complex and throughout occupied East Jerusalem. According to the Wafa agency, some Israeli settlers tried to provoke the faithful with religious chants. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in Islam and is constantly raided by the occupation forces and radical Israeli groups who claim control over it. In Saudi Arabia, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims performed the Stunning of the Devil on Friday in the Mina Valley, marking one of the final rituals of the Hajj season. On the first day of Eid al-Adha, pilgrims perform the ritual, which involves throwing 7 pebbles at each of 3 stone pillars that represent Satan. The stunning follows a series of spiritual steps that form the core of the annual Islamic pilgrimage. On Thursday, pilgrims stood in prayer of Mount Arafat, considered one of the holiest sites in Islam. Then on Friday, the nearly 1.6 million pilgrims from over 180 countries began their journey from Mount Arafat to Muzdalifah, concluded one of the most significant stages of the Hajj pilgrimage. A cultural and tourism fair was inaugurated in Kazakhstan to strengthen ties between the cities of Almaty and Xi'an in China. The event kicked off with a traditional Chinese dance show and featured various performances including Chinese opera and Kazakh folk dance. During the opening ceremony, 8 agreements were signed between the two countries in areas such as cultural tourism, economic development and sport medicine. This fair will include demonstrations of cultural heritage, traditional Chinese medicine and sport collaborations, and will promote wider cooperation between the two cities, as well as contribute to building a community of shared future between Beijing and Central Asia. In Peru, the 8th EICA 2025 International Book Fair will offer more than 50 activities for all audiences, from book presentations to theater and music. This year, the fair will be held from June 9th to 22nd at the Plaza de Armas of Ica and will pay tribute to the Iqueño writer José Vázquez Peña, with the participation of outstanding authors such as Paula Ilavaca, Pedro Salinas and Patricia del Rio. In addition, the theatrical group Yuyacani will present Maria J., a conference on the life of one of the first feminists of Peru. This fair has consolidated itself as the main literary meeting in the country, promoting reading and cultural exchange. And with this information, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you.